Turn and face the changes.
Hello, welcome to Real World Politics. My name is Larry Halstead and I will be your host as we discuss the topic of offshore oil drilling. Both President Bush and Senator John McCain have made the same election year proposal in response to our current energy crisis. They are calling on Congress to lift the ban on offshore oil drilling. Right about now, the Republican nominee, John McBush, is looking at the pathetically low approval rating of who the vast majority of Americans now consider to be the worst president ever. McCain is working overtime to distance himself from the president and the policies of the current administration. Since securing the nomination, McCain is treating Bush like the plague and going out of his way to avoid being photographed or even seen together. But, as anyone who has taken the Bush-McCain challenge can tell you, the real significant difference between George and John doesn't amount to more than a teaspoonful of spit. Clearly, McCain is running for Bush's third term. For over 7 years now, the oil boys in the White House have set us on the course for increased dependency on foreign oil and making a bigger profit for the oil companies they represent. Americans are currently paying more than 3 times the price at the pump that they were at the beginning of this national nightmare presidency. When George W. Bush was first appointed president by the Supreme Court, the price of a barrel of oil was around $24 and we were paying about $1.47 per gallon. Today, we see oil prices have soared under the Bush-Cheney Oil Company to $139 per barrel, and we are paying over $4 per gallon. Every day the price of oil surges skyward, and we all now realize that $5 per gallon is just around the corner. Look at this chart on the history of oil prices prepared by the oil industry itself. This chart shows the fluctuation in gas prices as influenced by crisis and war in the Mideast. On the right-hand side of the chart, you will notice the price spike that began on 9/11 and has continued to skyrocket at an alarming rate. This graph was current as of May 2008, and you will notice that the all-time record on May is still way below the $100 mark. Within a month of completing this chart, the oil prices spiked again to an astounding $139 per barrel and climbing. We are fighting a costly war over oil while the oil companies are enjoying record windfall profits in the billions of dollars. Bush and McCain are once again singing from the same hymnal. They want to exploit the American pain at the pump and the resulting higher prices for food and all other goods and services. On the exact same day, both Bush and McCain seized the opportunity to exploit our misery of high prices at the pump into even more profits by violating our ocean resources. Bush started urging leaders in Congress to lift the ban on offshore oil during drilling on the same day that McCain was pitching his own energy policy calling for, surprise, ending the ban on offshore drilling. From Barack Obama on down, every single leader in the Democratic Party are leading the effort to end our dependence on oil and make the switch to renewable resources. Yet McCain, who has the oil lobbyist running his campaign, has made it the cornerstone of his energy policy to help stay the course on oil dependency and continue the Republican strategy of oil exploration and production with no regard for the devastating environmental destruction and global warming it represents. For both Bush and McCain, the only solution to our skyrocketing energy crisis is to drill, drill, drill. Their two top targets are the protected Arctic regions and the outer continental shelf. Congress chose to protect these federal waters from oil exploration in 1981 and has voted to renew that ban ever since then. But today, these federal protections are under attack. Lifting this critical environmental ban on offshore drilling is a false promise and an unnecessary risk to our oceans and our coastline. Worse yet, it keeps us on the same path of oil dependence that has been the primary source for global warming. Lifting the ban on offshore drilling will not help the price we pay at the pump, and it will hurt our environment. The House Committee on Natural Resources just released a new investigative report which studied the current system of drilling permits on federal lands and in federal waters. The committee found that our current energy crisis is just not a crisis that we can drill our way out of. Here's what the report found. There is no correlation between increased drilling and lower gas prices. The number of drilling permits increased by 361% from 1999 to 2007, and yet gas prices more than doubled in that time. The vast majority of the oil and the natural gas believed to be on the outer continental shelf is already available for exploitation. In fact, 82% of natural gas and 79% of oil believed to exist on the outer continental shelf is available for drilling throughout existing leases right now. Oil and gas companies are failing to exploit the existing drilling permits they have been issued. In fact, there are 10,000 additional permits for 68 million acres of federal lands and waters where drilling leases have been issued but are not being used to increase production. Leases are located in federal water. Efforts to reopen the federal waters off coast of California to drilling could allow unreliable oil rigs to be as close as 3 miles to our beaches. As Californians, we are all too familiar with the consequences of offshore drilling. An oil spill in 1969 off the coast of Santa Barbara killed thousands of birds, as well as dolphins, seals, and other marine animals. In 1971, there was an oil spill in the San Francisco Bay. In 1989, we all remember the Exxon Valdez spilled 11 million gallons of crude oil in the environmentally sensitive Alaskan coastal regions. Less than a year later, another tanker, the American Trader, spilled another 300,000 gallons of crude oil off Huntington Beach in Southern California. It is time for us to get off our long-term dependency, addiction, and obsession to fossil fuels. Our oil habit is killing our planet and all living things that live on planet Earth. It is long past time to break the habit of fossil fuel and move away from energy that pollutes the planet, creates war, and fuels the terrorist actions against us while keeping us enslaved by the special interest of big oil. We must wean ourselves off of petroleum, and we must not create new dependency by further investments in offshore drilling that puts our ocean environment at further risk. Simply put, we must not go backwards by lifting the ban on offshore drilling. Our environment is in danger, and we must take extraordinary measures to protect and restore it. I'd like to ask you to please take a moment to contact your congressman and both of the 2 U.S. senators that represent the state you live in. Tell them not to lift the ban on offshore drilling. Tell them that you expect them to take measures to protect our environment. Finally, tell them we need to invest in renewable resources like solar, wind, and biofuels. It is past time to turn the page on our energy policies. We must break our insatiable oil habit and make the transition to renewable, environmentally safe energy, now referred to as green energy. Green energy is our future. Let's unite to embrace it together. This is Larry Halstead with another edition of Real World Politics. Thank you for watching.
Turn and face the change.